first baseball game you saw?
August 1968, Yankee Stadium, Minnesota Twins against the Yankees. I actually went Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, the Twins beat the Yankees 3-2. Mickey Mantle hit 2 home runs. Now, I only know this because Pat Courtney told me it later on. It was the last time Mickey Mantle ever hit 2 home runs in a game. It really an unbelievable day, one I will never forget. And we went back on Sunday. It was Old Timers Day Sunday, I believe, and Mel Stottlemyre pitched, and that was Stottlemyre's best year. I mean, he had an ERA under 2.5. He had a great year. He lasted 2.5 against the Twins. Yankees lost, I think, 11-2 the second day.
What Yankee have you? What baseball player have you met where it stayed with you?
I think that the one that has really stuck with me the most is Sandy Koufax. There's something special about Sandy Koufax. I said to somebody, he was with us in Cincinnati for the All-Star game because of the Franchise 4 promotion, and I spent a little time with Sandy, and I kind of walked away, and I said, if we had royalty in baseball, Sandy Koufax would be baseball royalty. He's
just a recluse.
Yeah, I mean, that's a personal choice in terms of how out there he wants to be. But, he was with us at the writers' dinner in January. He came, he presented the Cy Young and MVP to Clayton Kershaw. He's a really gracious, warm individual.
He's like out of central casting. If you say, I need the dashing, baseball star, right. And then you bring in Sandy Koufax.
Yeah, that really is true. But look, I've been so fortunate. Think about this: when you walk into a room in Cincinnati when we were getting ready to stage the pregame, and you have Hank Aaron, who I know well because he spent so much time with Bud, Willie Mays, Johnny Bench, and Sandy Koufax. That's some room, huh?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That's when you go, I'm the commissioner of this game.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Did you ask for an autograph?
I am not an autograph person. I'll tell you, I've said this publicly. In all my 20-something years in baseball, I have only kept one autograph ball. The night after 9/11 that President Bush threw out the first pitch, he signed one box of baseballs down in the tunnel before he came out, and I have one of those 12, and I will always keep that one.
How nervous were you that night?
I was sort of over it. We had gone to the first Mets game. We'd gone to the first game back in the old stadium, Shea Stadium, and my wife and kids went with me. All 4 kids, my wife, we were all there, and I was a little uneasy that night. By the time we got to the George Bush night, I was not nervous. But it's interesting. I don't know if you've seen the 30 for 30 on that night. I happened to be at the Bush Library with the president the day they were filming that, and George Tenet, the head of the CIA, was there, former head of the CIA was there that same night, and them explaining, the alert level and all that, I was oblivious.
You knew nothing about it.
Right, I should have been nervous, I guess.
All right, the obligatory Pete Rose question.
Mm-hmm.
Could you put him on the ballot? Without reinstating him as the commissioner, could you put him on the ballot?
Yeah, that is the mix you can't get to. I can't get to, okay? And let me explain what I mean by that. My authority relates to the permanently ineligible list in baseball, which is a functional list, right? In other words, people who go on the permanently ineligible list, we've reached a judgment that they can't be close enough to the game to affect an outcome because of previous involvement with respect to gambling. If I took him off the permanently ineligible list, where he would really go under the Hall of Fame's existing rules is to a Veterans Committee, as I understand it. I can't leave him on the permanently ineligible list and make the Hall of Fame put him on the ballot. It's not within my power. That would be a Hall of Fame decision.
What could you hear now that would change what your predecessors were holding true to?
I'm very open-minded on
Has he paid his penance, though?
Topic. Well, I don't see this as it's why I described the list before as functional. It's not a penance question. It's not like I sinned and at some point, that sin is absolved. It is. Can you reach the conclusion that it would be okay for Pete Rose to manage a major league club? That's the question you have to ask yourself with respect to the permanently ineligible.
Yeah, but
list.
he doesn't have to hold a job. Like, why can't I put him on the ballot? I wouldn't let Pete hold a job in baseball.
I agree with you, Dan, that there are two very, very different issues. I only have one of them, okay? My issue is, should Pete Rose, if I take him off the permanently ineligible list, somebody could hire him next week, okay, for a job in baseball. That's the issue that I have in front of me. I see that question very different from the question of, should he be considered for the Hall of Fame based on what he did as a player and a manager? I see him as very different issues.
What if the Hall of Fame said we want to put him on the ballot? Because they can act separately from the commissioner.
That's right. I'm a member of the Hall of Fame board. They have every right to make that decision, and has nothing to do with whether he should or shouldn't remain on the permanently ineligible list.
Do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
Well, I think that I have a policy about questions like that. I think that the writers who have votes on Hall of Fame members do a very good job.
Would you vote for him?
Of deciding whether or not somebody should be in the Hall of Fame. I would have to really think hard about the overall experience that Pete had with baseball, including his performance on the field and all of these other issues, in order to reach a decision on that. I've just never done it. I'm not a voter. I've never really thought about it.
Has he been 100% truthful?
Well, that's a very different. You mean with me?
Yeah.
I have only had a very brief conversation with him at the All-Star game. Okay. I haven't met with him yet. So it's difficult for me to answer that question.
Because that would be the big concern I would have if I were the commissioner. That if I'm going to do this for Pete, I need to know, did he bet against the Cincinnati Reds? Did he bet when he was a player?
Well, let me say this. I think truthfulness is sort of the bedrock of every relationship, so I would tend to agree with you. I think it would be a mistake. I'll say this. I think it would be a mistake for Pete to come in and do anything other than tell me everything and the complete truth with respect to everything.
What's the time frame to talk to him?
I'm not going to get into a specific timetable except to say this to you. Before calendar 2015 comes to a close, I will have met with him and given him a decision.
The concussions with the NFL, before we run out of time here, is baseball, can you see baseball able to capitalize the wrong word, but maybe kids not wanting to play or the parents not wanting them to play football, and baseball benefits from that?
Well, I think that it's very important for baseball to be fully engaged in the youth market. The single biggest determinant of whether somebody ends up a baseball fan or not is whether they play as a kid. And we need to be competitive in that youth space to make sure kids are playing the game. I think one of the principal appeals to our game, a very important appealing factor of our game, is it's a safe game for kids to play.
Any special remembrances of Yogi Berra? Is baseball going to do anything for Yogi?
We're talking about exactly what we're going to do. We've had a long relationship with Yogi. There's a very unfortunate incident where, his museum was broken into and some things were lost, and we participated along with the Yankees, who always had a great relationship with Yogi in recent years, to replace those items. I have to tell you, I was struck yesterday by what a huge story Yogi's passing was, and I think it shows. It's a tribute to him personally, but I think it also shows the place that our game continues to hold in American society.
We love Yogi. Good man, gentlemen. Thank you for coming in, Commissioner.
Well, I enjoyed it. I was happy to do it.
We appreciate that.
All right, thanks.
1 hour in the books, 2 to go. Dan Patrick Show.